The gentleman sitting to my right and your left as you're looking at him is probably one of the most celebrated figures in this activity. In the marching arts, this is Freddie Martin. Freddie's been a friend of mine for a number of years. Welcome. It's good to see you again.
It's wonderful to be here. I appreciate it. I appreciate Dr. Vanderwalker inviting me today, and our visits are always enjoyed.
They really are. They really are. But we were just talking just a few minutes ago how that Freddie and I go back to 1978 when I took the job at East Tennessee State University, and at that point that his sons were babies are not even existing yet, and it was great. Following his activity, this is a gentleman here who was recently put into the DCI Hall of Fame, the founder and the overall operator of the Atlanta Spirit of Atlanta Drum Corps, involved with the favorite in my heart, if you remember growing up in Park Ridge, Illinois, the Cavaliers were something that was very special to me. They rehearsed right across the street from me where I was growing up, with the likes of people like Larry McCormick playing center snare in that group at that time.
A lot of great names, a lot of great people for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So how are things going for you?
Things are wonderful. Working with great high school bands in Cobb and in Ohio and Texas, and being proud of my sons and their accomplishments and the things that they do these days. Working at the Westminster School as band director and brass technician,
Yeah.
So,
well, it's not something that we look at as a job. We look at it as a life, don't we?
Absolutely.
You bet. I'm doing the same things too. Just for those of you that don't know, his two sons, Chris and Michael. Chris is the principal trumpet player with the New York Philharmonic. And his son Michael is a trumpeter with the Boston Symphony Orchestra and with the Boston Pops. A proud daddy, to say the least, that he's got two sons that just a couple of years ago, was it that you did a clinic at Midwest where you were talking about trumpet playing?
Yeah, a few years ago, the boys and I did a clinic on brass and trumpet specifically, and 5 of their closest friends came in and joined us for performance at the conclusion of the clinic, and it was really well attended, and the boys and I had a great time.
I was in the room. It was great. Absolutely great. And that's something for a clarinet player to go to your clinic on trumpet.
Well, thank you very much, sir.
What's your caption here today?
I want to talk a little bit about tone quality and the way we perform music on the move, and the fundamentals that are so important to the way our symphonic bands sound, and the quality of literature that we are able to accomplish through the entire school year is dependent on our late summer, early fall approach to tone quality fundamentals. And it's almost like overtraining everything, because when we go out to march, certainly we have to move our feet forward and backward. We have to change our body positions so that we play to an audience.
Yes.
We have to work really hard, though, to make sure that quality of sound is our first priority, whether it's in the percussion section or the wind section, brass and woodwinds, because a lot of us sometimes, I think, overlook the great contribution that the woodwind section makes to the marching band. And one of the things that I've been overjoyed to get more involved with recently is the outdoor sound of woodwind players, to match and even at times completely enhance what the brass sections are able to do. So the breathing exercises, the techniques that we use, whether it's balloons or adjustable tubes or whatever it is, has to apply to every wind player. And the nice thing about class during the day is that we can teach our fundamentals and teach our fundamentals and teach our fundamentals and get ready for our fall concerts, but also get the students ready to go outside and do those same fundamentals moving. And I think an area where we all could improve, including Freddie, of course, is, are we doing our long tone fundamentals? Are we doing our Remington studies? Are we doing our technique studies with the woodwind sections doing simple fundamental drill moves in a block outside. We have a tendency, I think, at times to work on music fundamentals and then work on marching fundamentals, but we don't blend those two things so that sometimes we don't get the same qualities of sound that we had hoped when the students begin to move and play their shows. So the thing I want, if I was a young director again, the thing I would want to hear most clearly is, how do you do that? How do these great bands sound so wonderful moving? And I think the way they do that is by blending those two fundamentals in their after-school marching rehearsals. The fundamentals that they do in class seated, and then they take those outside. And they're not just standing there playing, they're actually doing, let's say, a box and 8 drill,
Right.
which is a great fundamental exercise for shoulder
You
position,
bet.
for everything that we do in marching. But imagine doing that, playing long tone concert Fs, doing long tone concert B flats. And more importantly than that, what if we were to take the harmony training system that Dr. Vanderwalker introduced to me in a memorized format, and we learned to play not only long tones with better quality, but we learned to play in tune by using that fundamental sequence outdoors, just like we just taught it, say, second period indoors.
Yeah.
So now the students are playing with these beautiful sounds, and they're playing with those same beautiful sounds in every direction, because a box drill, say in 8 counts, you go left, back, right, forward, stop. You've covered everything a student's going to have to do in the program.
Right.
And they're playing with beautiful tone, and they're playing with great intonation. And then you add to that whatever articulation fundamentals are applicable to that time in their development. So you're doing legatos and staccatos and standards, and the students are as accomplished at their fundamentals on the move as they are accomplished with their fundamentals sitting in the band room.
Right.
And that's when I think a program really moves to a brand new level as far as students' ability to project a program, to play musically, but also to be a part of a Friday night activity that's exciting and fun and enjoyable.
Right. And this has really grown, hasn't it? Because of if you take a look at the last few years, that having the woodwinds become a fundamental part of this has continued to grow. At one time, the brass were the most important thing, and the woodwinds were kind of silent and in the background. But by looking at all of this, we had our pedagogues from years past that were marching band aficionados that would talk about how the music is so very important, but it's going to lose some luster as a result of moving feet. And that's not true anymore. We're doing much more about that. And I think that what you bring up with the box drill is that if we're doing that on the march with the music, playing long tones, that it kind of goes back to practice doesn't necessarily make perfect, but practice does make permanent.
Absolutely does.
And that's something that's really fundamental to this whole experience.
That's what, in my opinion, creates the opportunity for a band to be effective, not only competitively, but to the audience, to their parents, to the people who support our programs, an understanding of how to communicate musically while we're on the move,
You bet.
which is the same thing we all strive to teach in our concert programs.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that Harmon training system you were talking about.
Dr. Vanderwalker is the expert in that. He's the one who introduced it to me, but basically it's a set of chords that are very simple, that create great ear training, that show you where the third of the chord is and how you adjust the third and the fifth of the chord or the seventh of the chord to be truly in tune.
Right.
And so you adjust the intonation, as we have to in band, to really sound like we want to sound.
Mm-hmm.
By doing that sitting down, we accomplish a great deal because their ears begin to function. So imagine taking that same function outside and doing it on the move and having their ears function in the same way.
Right.
And I think it makes an enormous difference in the way an outdoor ensemble sounds.
I agree wholeheartedly. No question about it. But this is remarkable. That you bring all these dimensions into focus for us, and the things that you've been about. Oh, Freddie, for all these years, I mean, my gosh, you've forgotten more about this than most people ever knew.
I'm afraid I've forgotten a great deal, yes. For sure.
We are delighted that you could stop by.
Thank you.
And it's always a pleasure to see you.
Pleasure's mine. Thank you
Proud
very
of your
much,
boys,
sir.
too.
Oh, thank you.
What a wonderful thing.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back after a short break here with yet another one of the adjudicators that'll be with us here here at the Fulton County Marching Band Exhibition. I'm Joe Herman. I'll be right back.